Welcome to a new Team CGC 9.8 video, and every Sunday here at Team CGC we like to go over some of the CGC 9.8 prices from the prior week. And this is something I kind of did on my personal time before starting the blog, and it's just a good way to stay on top of the prices, know the current market prices for some of the issues that you want to buy. And it's a really good way to just be more educated. And a lot of times you'll see some books that you might not even have known that you wanted, or you might even see maybe a bargain book that you think is going for a decent price that you thought it might be a little more expensive. Just a really good overall exercise to gain more knowledge on the CGC 9.8 market. And if you don't know, that's sort of what we do here at this channel. Is I like to collect and invest CGC 9.8 comics from the 1980s and the 1990s. Mostly, first appearances and origins and special issues and covers and special artists. Really helps to stay on top of the CGC 9.8 market. And each week, I did this last Sunday as well, and this Sunday being today, I think this will certainly be like a Sunday thing. And certainly a good video to again just have more knowledge on the current market prices for some of the CGC books. Now, all the prices I'm going to talk about here are in US dollars, and all the prices and sales are from eBay as well. And yeah, I know there's a couple other spots I could look for some sales as well, but eBay is just really easy to do some quick research with the completed listings. So okay, well, let's get right into it. We got definitely over 10 books here. So there's Uncanny X-Men number 135. That's the green Dark Phoenix cover. So that comic in the CGC 9.8 sold for $359, and that's a US dollar price as well. And so that's Uncanny X-Men number 135. Anything below Uncanny X-Men 141 and 142 are really quite popular, that John Byrne era of Uncanny X-Men. And yeah, generally, that issue not really being a key issue, just a cool Dark Phoenix cover. The non-key issues will generally go from that 350 to 400 range, I find, around that era of X-Men. Really popular John Byrne era. So Uncanny X-Men number 135 went for $359. Pretty hot book right now, Savage She-Hulk number 1. That's the origin and first appearance of She-Hulk. In the CGC 9.8, that one went for $355, and I think that's a pretty good buy. I think that's probably a pretty good sort of investment speculation buy, because She-Hulk and certainly female superheroes becoming more popular every day, I think. So you do get a first appearance in that Savage She-Hulk number 1 and an origin of She-Hulk. Plus, maybe a catalyst with all these female superheroes doing really well lately, and maybe even a She-Hulk movie. So yeah, $355 for CGC 9.8 of first appearance of She-Hulk. I think that's not bad at all. Wolverine number 1 sold for $169.99, and that's the first patch Wolverine, not the Wolverine limited series number 1. So $169.99, and yeah, that kind of goes with, I bought a Wolverine number 8. A couple weeks ago for about $162, I think it was. And at that point I said that Wolverine number 8 is about the same price as a Wolverine number 1. And yeah, that kind of still ranged true, this one being $169, and I paid $162 for the Wolverine 8 with that cool Hulk Wolverine cover. An Uncanny X-Men number 266 sold for a pretty good price, I think, $370. This one was in the old case. So looked a little bit older in the pictures too. So yeah, $370 is a pretty good price for first Gambit. $370, obviously being in the old case. I've seen the first Gambit get up to that $450, $500 level, even selling for more in like a buy it now. So yeah, an old case for X-Men 266, that's not too bad for $370 that went for. There's a Blade Runner number 1 I saw that went for $174.99, so call it $175, I guess. Blade Runner number 1, really hot book right now. Edge of Spider-Verse number 2, the first new Spider-Woman, Gwen Stacy, Spider-Gwen, first new Spider-Gwen. So a first print in the CGC 9.8 of that Edge of the Spider-Verse #2, it sold as a best offer, and they were asking $450, but it sold as a best offer, and they don't give you the actual number of the best offer that was accepted. So I'm guessing about $420-ish, because they were asking $450, sold as a best offer, usually $20-30 cheaper, I would imagine. So $420 for first Spider-Gwen, that's coming down a little bit, and I would expect that to probably continue to come down to sort of where Ultimate Fallout 4 is, first Miles Morales, which is about $350-ish, I would say right now is selling in the CGC 9.8. So this one's selling for about let's call it $420. I think that could come back to that $350 range over the next couple years as kind of the hype from Into the Spider-Verse sort of cools down a little bit. And I sort of view those two books about the same, Ultimate Fallout 4 and Edge of the Spider-Verse 2. First Miles Morales, first Spider-Gwen. So I think they'll be similar in price for quite a long time, I would imagine. Another book that sold, X Factor #6, first full appearance of Apocalypse. That book was so hot when that X-Men movie came out, and it's come down quite a lot since. This one sold for $175.50, and a pretty nice copy in a new case. So $175.50 for first full Apocalypse. I think that's a pretty good deal. Next one on the list here, an Amazing Spider-Man #300. So this one here in the 9.8s. The one that sold a couple days ago was in a new case, and it sold for $2,075 US. And it was looking pretty good too. This one quite, pretty well centered, nice colors. I don't know if we did it in the last video, but I know an Amazing Spider-Man 300 CGC 9.8 sold for about $1,900 just a couple weeks ago. But that one, the centering was a little bit off, and the colors didn't quite pop, even though it was a 9.8. This one looking a little bit better, so it went for about $175 more, I guess. Also, Amazing Spider-Man 298 in the CGC 9.8 sold, and that's a really good book, I think, for if you like Spider-Man and Todd McFarlane. That's a really good book to have. Amazing Spider-Man 298 sold for $261.66, and that was a 1-week auction. $298 in the CGC 9.8. Cool white cover. That's pretty hard to find in the higher grade. So that's a good one. Uncanny X-Men #282, first Bishop. That one sold in a new case, pretty nice looking copy for $133.50. A Spawn #1 sold in the direct edition, so I know we talked about that a little bit on our last video, as Spawn #1's kind of a good value, but there's so many of them that it might not be that good of an investment book. But I saw Spawn #1 in a new case. The direct edition sell for $119.99. So yeah, you're looking about $120 for Spawn #1 in the direct edition. Amazing Spider-Man 212 sold, first Hydro Man. Seen these go for a little bit more than what this one sold. This one went for $205. And yeah, I've seen this book, I think, even get over to that 300 level. And yeah, pretty cool, affordable first appearance of a villain. It's either this Amazing Spider-Man 212 being before Amazing Spider-Man 238, and I know it doesn't look as good on the census, but Amazing Spider-Man 238 first Hobgoblin is so much more expensive than 212. Another sleeper in there that I really love, and kind of one that I really want to, is Amazing Spider-Man 210 first Madam Web. If you're interested in kind of first appearances in that era of Amazing Spider-Man, that 210 first Madam Web is a book that I really want, and it's not really a key at all. Like I know in the Overstreet Guide, it's just treated as a normal issue. But I think first appearance of Madam Web over time will probably do pretty good. But anyway, so that was first Hydro Man, ASM 212, went for $205. Incredible Hulk 271, the first Rocket Raccoon. A really nice copy in the new case, went for $575. And this is a comic that I almost bought at one point, and yeah, funny, I'm pretty sure I offered maybe $510 or $520, if I remember that, and my offer was rejected. So this one's selling for $5.75 in a new case. It looked like a really nice copy, to be honest. So and that's a cool one. First Rocket Raccoon. I think that'll only probably get popular over time too, with Guardians of the Galaxy movies and how big of a hit his character was. A comic that I have really kept my eye on throughout the last couple of years here of collecting that I really want. Detective 476, the classic Joker cover in a CGC 9.8. That's, you know, one of the really classic Joker covers that you can still find in a CGC 9.8 for like a decent price. So Detective 476 sold for $517.49. And I think that is a good sort of, you know, just getting into the 70s, if you're a really big Joker fan, getting a CGC 9.8 of Detective 476 is like a really good collectible. Just a super cool cover. You know, every Joker fanatic loves that cover. And yeah, you know, once you get into the 70s, usually CGC 9.8s just start skyrocketing because they're you know, they're not as widely available. This one you still seem to be able to find some, and I think for $5.17. I haven't personally looked on the census for this either, so I don't know how many specifically there are. But for $5.17.49, super classic, awesome Joker cover in the CGC 9.8 for like a book from the, you know, late 70s. I think it is going to be a pretty good price, you know, just moving forward here. So New Mutants 98. You know, this is a book I've talked about that has come down in price from certainly, you know, being 4 or 5 years ago now, when the first Deadpool movie came out, maybe even longer than that, where it really shot up in value, sort of, you know, and I would say in the last 2-3 years steadily declining in value in the CGC 9.8. So a signature series copy of New Mutants 98, it was a direct edition, so not a newsstand edition, signed by Rob Liefeld, sold for $676.66. And that, I think it's pretty apparent now that New Mutants 98 is still going down in value, because I paid a lot more for mine, and that, yeah, and I'm thinking, what was it, yeah, about $120 more for mine, and it's a non-signature series. So yeah, to see, you know, a signature series go for about $120 less than I paid for my non-signature series, and I bought it about a year ago, that's kind of a bit disheartening. And I know I've done a couple videos saying that New Mutants 98 has been trending down in price, but I think now could be a good time to buy. But, you know, the more I think about it, it doesn't look really that well on the census. It's one of those books that, you know, made in 1991, so there was so much printing going on at that time in comic books. And if you look on the census for New Mutants 98, there are a lot of copies. I can't remember the exact number here, but there are a lot of copies of New Mutants 98 compared to something like an Amazing Spider-Man 300, which I think will for sure kind of hold its value over time because it's so rare in the 9.8. for how popular it is. But New Mutants is a bit of the opposite, not very rare, and there's way more copies of it. So I think that's starting to kind of hurt New Mutants 98. And, you know, for $676 for a signature series one, you know, that you could probably extrapolate that a non-signature series one would go for about $600 right now. And that's quite down from most of the prices last year. Where, you know, say a non-signature series goes for $600. Last year, $750, $800, many sold. So yeah, it looks like this issue could kind of be getting, you know, into that, you know, first Gambit price range. Maybe not there quite yet, but it does seem, you know, it certainly wasn't that upper echelon of range where, you know, $750, $800-ish. Which is looking at over 1,000 Canadian, which is what I paid for mine. But yeah, I think it's still kind of trending down a little by little here, a little bit. And yeah, not looking too good on the census either. Obviously, you get first appearance of Deadpool, which is such an iconic character. But I think because there is so many of them, I could almost see this possibly continuing. I wouldn't think a New Mutants 98 would go for like less than sort of $500 to $550 I think that would certainly be a low bottom, because then you're getting into some other issues there that I don't think are as iconic as Deadpool, first appearance of Deadpool in the New Mutants 98, that are in that sort of 500 to 550 range. But yeah, obviously kind of trending down at this time, but if you're looking for a deal, New Mutants 98, if you can grab a first appearance of Deadpool for about $600, $650. This one, being a signature series, went for $676. It was a new case too, looking pretty good. It was a direct edition, not a newsstand, but still looking really good. And personally, I thought something like that would go for about $800, but $676. So New Mutants does seem to be continuing to trend down a little bit. New Mutants 98 first Deadpool. And last comic on my list was Transformers #1. This is a book that I've really wanted, and yeah, this book a little bit different because it was actually a CBCS 9.8, so not a CGC, CBCS 9.8, and I sort of view them, those two grading companies, as essentially equivalent, and I think right now there probably is a tad bit of a premium for an equivalent CGC copy. But you're hearing more and more about fraud and counterfeit within CGC books. So I think I'm seeing a lot of CBCS books now, especially just in the last month or two, that are basically going for about the same as a CGC book. So for instance, Transformers #1, this was a first print in the CBCS 9.8, went for $439. So that's first appearance of the Autobots and the Decepticons, so I think a super iconic first appearance. And a CBCS 9.8 going for $439. That might be a little bit less than what an equivalent CGC would have went for. This was a really nice copy too, first print. A lot of times these the Transformers #1s, I don't think the paper quality was as good. I think it's similar to G.I. Joe, the first couple issues, where the paper quality was not that good for some reason. So sometimes the colors are quite faded and it's not very centered. This one looking like a really nice copy, I thought. For $439, you get first appearance of Transformers. I thought that was a pretty good deal. I think over time that'll really look like a good deal too. Yeah, so definitely got a kind of a plethora of prices here. So I'm gonna, in the description, I will put each comic and then the price quoted in this video, just so you can kind of get a list of them. But yeah, I think, a takeaway from this video certainly is that New Mutants 98 still seems to be trending down. And, I think a lot of people, investors kind of came out, and collectors came out of the woodwork maybe a year and a half ago and saying, oh, it's come off quite a bit, and I think it might be a good time to buy. And that was kind of my thinking last year. I bought mine on a 1-week auction. It was from quite a popular seller. But it was an auction, it wasn't like a buy it now or anything, so, a fire sale auction, and it went for about a little under $800 American, and yeah, to kind of just see a signature series of basically the same thing go for $670, $666, and normally a signature series you think should be a little bit more. So yeah, it still looks like New Mutants 98 is probably trending down, and if you're a really big Deadpool fan, I think this is probably the best time to buy New Mutants 98 in the last 5 years. So yeah, you might want to take advantage of that, certainly, if you are a Deadpool fan and looking to buy. But that'll be all for today. And I really like going over this exercise just personally myself on the computer, looking up completed listings of CGC 9.8s and seeing what sold, seeing what went for a decent price, and maybe seeing a comic you want in like the old case going for a lower price, but probably because it's old case, and then you can get an idea of old case versus new case prices. So there's so many like little details that you can pick up by doing this exercise. And then every now and then you say, oh yeah, you know what, I don't remember that book, or I haven't thought of that book, but oh man, I really want it, especially for that price, it looks pretty good. So that's what I find I really like about this exercise. Like last week, I found X-Men #4, and I'm talking the new series X-Men #4, which is first Omega Red. And like I just had completely forgot about that issue pretty much for some reason. But yeah, honestly, I pretty much want it now. Like X-Men #4, CGC 9.8 is like on my list to buy now. So that's kind of why I think this is a good exercise to do, and you stay on top of the prices and you know the prices, which is, you know, that's all you really want when you're trying to buy and sell comic books, especially CGC 9.8 comic books, which can be pretty expensive. You want to make sure you're educated on the pricing. But thanks so much for watching the video today. And if you haven't, please subscribe to the channel and join the team. I think we're pushing about 120 subscribers now. And yeah, we're still at an early stage of the channel. We've been just over a month here, so every subscriber helps. If you could subscribe, that would be so much appreciated. But thanks so much for watching the video, guys. Hope you enjoyed all the pricing information, and I will see you on the next one.